Today I'm going to give you a tutorial on how do you fine-tune the focus of the SHG 700. So I have been giving this tutorial a few times before, but in several videos, so it might be a little bit hard to follow. So today I'm going to concise everything into one video and give you all the tips and tricks you should know to get the optimal focus for your SHG 700. First is that you have to make sure that the slit of the SHG 700 is sitting at the focal plane of your telescope. All right, and you do that by, estimating the focal plane of the telescope. You can check out my quick start guide video. I have a guide on how to do that. You point the telescope to the sun, and you get a cardboard piece of cardboard paper or a plastic paper, right? You go in and out until you see the sun image is the smallest on the paper, right? That is where the focal plane of your telescope is. And having to know your focal plane, you can drag the focuser out to reach that focal plane. Most of the telescope doesn't allow you, to reach the focal plane even with the focuser fully extended. So you will have to use some kind of extension tube to extend the focuser so that you can reach focus with the SHG 700. That was not the case with this BARC 89ED. The focal plane of this particular scope is very near, and I can easily reach that with the focuser. Okay, so I have roughly focused my telescope here, and I will also assume that you have found the sun on the slit. Okay, and once you have the sun on the slit, you will see that it will have the exposure time will be very slow and the image will be very bright. If you have the sun disk off the slit like this, I will sleeve it out. You can see that. Okay, you can see that it's going up the slit here, right? And the image is very dark. You have to increase the exposure to see the sky background, right? But if the sun is on the slit, you will see the image is very bright, and if you do not reduce the exposure as well as the gain here, right, you will have overexposed image. Okay, so that is how you know that you have the sun on the slit. All right, once you have the sun on the slit, you can see that I'm slewing in declination, right, and the sun image will move left, right, and if I slew in right ascension, the sun image will get bigger and then smaller. Okay, it gets brighter and then smaller again until it goes completely off. Okay, so that is the basic of it. You have the rough focus on the telescope, you have the sun on the slit, and now you will fine-tune the focus of the SHG before you do anything else. Okay, so I'm going to slew in declination. I don't know if you can see my hand here, right? I have the hand controller here. So I will slew in declination. You'll see that the sun disk is moving left, right, and it will touch the edge of the slit, right? You see this very apparent black edge here, right? This is the edge of the slit. I don't know if you can see my cursor, so I will put the reticle here. So this is the edge of the 7mm slit on the SHG 700. Okay, and I will go to the other side of the edge. You see that? This is the other edge. Okay, and our goal here is to get both this absorption line. You can see this absorption line, right? So I would let the sun clip on one edge, okay, I can use both edge. I can use this edge or I can use the other one. There's no difference, okay? Okay, I will use this one, all right? So on this image, you can see that the absorption line, the black vertical, horizontal, slightly curved line here, this is the 8 alpha absorption line, okay, and it is blurry. And now I would use the micrometer on the camera. You will have to use both these micrometer to tune the focus. This micrometer, I call it the camera micrometer, is pointing to the camera here, right? And the other one is the collimator micrometer, which is pointing to the scope, right? So please watch the screen. When I increase the zoom so you can better see the screen, okay? I would tune the micrometer. You see that when I turn the camera micrometer here, right, the horizontal absorption line will get very sharp, okay? And for the 8 alpha line, I usually like to use the double line of the iron here. You see this double line here, right? I usually use this double line as focus cue for the absorption line, okay? Once I have that line very defined and separated, I know that I have a good focus on the 8 alpha line. The 8 alpha line is here, right? Okay, so I will keep looking at the edge. So adjusting the focus of the camera will affecting the collimator focus, and we judge the collimator focus by the vertical line here, the edge of the slit here, right? So it is out of focus now. I will use the micrometer to tune for the sharpest edge possible, okay? And adjusting the collimator micrometer will affect the absorption line focus, right? It's slightly out of focus now. I will use the micrometer to tune for the sharpest line possible, okay? I think we have reasonably good focus here, but I will go into the slit, increase the focus a little bit, reduce the exposure so we do not have any overexposed image, okay? All right. And this is the trick to have a high contrast image to adjust the focus easier. So on shortcut we have the histogram stretcher, okay? I can stretch the histogram. You can see I can manually stretch the histogram to increase the contrast of the line. You can see that the line is now very contrasted, right? And we can have a very good way to judge the focus now. Okay, so you see this vertical line, right? This stationary vertical line, they do not change when I slew the sun left and right, right? So those are the dust that is on the slit, okay? And we have the dust that is on the back of the slit, this one here, because we are focusing on the have pretty good focus on the edge of the slit here. So the sharp line here are probably the dust that is on the slit, okay? But they are not quite in focus yet. So I will stretch the histogram, go back to the collimator micrometer, and do the focus again. Okay. Okay, I think I will do a RI crop, so the live view would be a little bit more responsive. I'm using a Mac running non-native driver, so cropping in might give me a little bit of advantage here. Okay, so as you can see, I alternating between the micrometer and I get those vertical line, both the vertical line and the absorption line as sharp as I can. Okay, so that is the focus of the, the telescope, I'm sorry, of the SHG, right? So now I will return the sun disk to the middle of the slit here, right? And I reset the stretching, all right? The next step is to focus um, the solar disk, the telescope, right? So I will use the telescope micrometer and focuser, and I go in now. I think that's, and we look for the edge of the sun here, right? We look for the sharpest edge possible. I think the edge is coming together, right? Okay. Noticing this part here, right? Now we have it very sharp. It was very blurry like this before, and now it is sharp. So it indicating a good focus, but we will zoom in and do a fine tune, a last fine tune of the focus by stretching this histogram once more time. Okay, you'll see that the scintillating line is now very contrast, and I would turn the telescope focuser so that we have the highest contrast on the scintillating vertical line. Okay, I think we have that here. It is very contrasted. Let's go in and out to confirm the focus again. Yeah, I think it's here, right? Okay, so as you can see, we have very good focus here. But before doing any capture, I would like to, reconfirm the focus just once more, okay? I will do 200 times zooming in, and I check the absorption line. You can see that the double line here is very well contrasted and well defined, right? It is indicating that we have good focus on the absorption line. We have the, the vertical dust here is very sharp, right? You might not have the dust on your slit, okay? It depends on the particular slit. I prefer to have some of the dust, but you might have none, okay? And if you do not have any, don't worry, you just use the edge of the slit here, right, to do the focus, okay? And the focus will be just as good as if you have the dust, smaller dust on the in the middle of the slit, okay? Okay, so if you have been using the SHG 700 for some time now, you might probably notice by now that the SHG 700 has this light bending effect on the, on the image. It is a light band that is exhibit on all wavelength. Some are more apparent than the other. That is the internal reflection inside of the SHG caused by the unwanted wavelength. They doesn't get used and they just reflect it back and forth inside of the optics and cause that light bending effect. This light bending is not very severe on 8 alpha, but it might, interfere with some smaller, fainter prominence. So we want to get rid of that, okay? And we have a solution, a hardware solution to that, and that is using this filter, okay? I'm using a narrowband 7 nanometer 8 alpha filter, right? And I have a filter drawer here in front of the slit, and I just drop in the filter like this. I'm using the normal, and as you can see, as soon as I drop in the filter, you can see that the wavelength is limited. Okay, this is the 8 alpha line, and this is the filter band pass. Okay, this is what the filter is passing, and since this is a 7 nanometer filter from SVBony, is quite cheap. You can see that we have this light band here is 7 nanometer. Okay, and we can use this image to measure the band pass of the filter. Any kind of nighttime filter, you can measure that. You can see that if the sensor wavelength is centered in the band pass of the filter. Okay, the narrower the filter got, the more contrast you would get in your image in the nighttime, right? So because of the added filter, you see that we have some added, light path, right? So the sun disk is a little bit out of focus, right? So we'll have to refocus the sun disk. That's all, and we'll be able to capture, and it will get rid of the light banding, most of it. We have this image here is the reconstruction from a scan before we put the narrowband filter in. You can see that we have that, we can call it a light banding here, right? And it affects the ability for us to see the frame factor prompts, okay? So after placing the narrowband filter on, we can see that the light band is largely gone, okay, and the disk is much more uniform, and we have better contrast. Keep in mind that those two images have exactly the same stretching applied to them. Okay, now let's see without 8 alpha filter and with 8 alpha filter. As you can see, this banding is much more subdued. Okay, so another way that we can do if we do not have the narrowband filter is that JSOLEX has a feature that is called a function that is called background modeling. Cedric Champo include this in his JSOLEX, and let's see. Okay, so we would use a file with the banding, so we can see the effect of this image math function on the image. Okay, so we have the reconstructed image here. We put in the outputs. First we have the background. I will name it background equal BG model image 0. Okay, and we'll have the corrected equal image 0 minus the background, and let's run the script. Okay, so it will output two of the image here. It has the background. You can see the light band is showing in the background, right? and it's had the corrected image. So let's see how that works for us. Okay, so we have the let's say we have the image before corrected here, right? We can see the light banding is very apparent, right? And after background modelizations, sorry, the other one, corrected. After the background modelization, you can see that the background is a lot, more subdued. But of course, since this is a, software solution, the result is not as good as when you have the hardware added, the filter added, okay? Or you can, use PicInsight to model the background manually if you want. For example, I can have the, let me see, I can have the image here. I will use this image. I bring it out here. Okay, and I will open it with PicInsight. Okay, so I think we can see the light banding here, right? And I will do an auto stretch so we can better see the light banding, right? And we can do the background modelization using dynamic background extraction, and we put the background model on the alarm, the sample on like this. Okay, since the background is very linear, I only keep the alignment point at this down here. Okay, and I will use subtraction, right? I will use smoothing factor, increase that to 1, and voila, we have the background subtracted here. Okay, and we have the image with the background subtracted. So the background is still there, but it will be of lesser intensity. The benefit of having the background extraction running on an 8 alpha image is not very clear, since the image, the 8 alpha have very little of those reflection itself. But if you apply this on a calcium K, for example, those wavelengths have much more of these internal reflection. It will create a more uniform disk for a more pleasant look. Okay, so even the uncorrected image of the 8 alpha is still pretty good, right? But if you perform the background extraction on the calcium K, you will see a much more different result. Okay, it will be greatly more benefit from this technique.